Yo, what is going on, y'all? Welcome into Cardinalytics and Arizona Cardinals podcast, hosted by fans for the fans here on July 2nd, 2025. In the dog days of the summer, real grind going on. If you're, enjoying the summer, relaxing, hopefully you're enjoying that. If you're on the grind like myself in the summer, I hope you're also enjoying those paychecks that come with it. Back again, here with the guys, Shaw, Jake. How you boys feeling today on another episode of Cardinalytics?
Feeling good. Happy to be back with the fellas. Been too long.
For sure.
Yeah, I'm feeling good, man. Just been grinding, like you said, work, travel. Yeah, just been grinding.
Yeah, both of you boys got a different setup behind you as well. I need to update my setup probably at some point. Here we go.
No, I'm
But
actually I'm in the satellite room this time.
there you
So
go.
yeah,
There you go.
yeah.
So today we are going to be talking about the biggest questions and storylines of the 2025 Cardinals. This was something that we wanted to do just going into training camp as that's approaching at the end of this month with, I think, the Hall of Fame games at the 31st of this month. And then, like I said, a bunch of training camps are going to begin. And no better person to join us today to talk about some of the biggest questions and storylines of the 2025 Cardinals than our special guest today, Donnie Druin of Cardinals on SI. Appreciate you joining us. How are you feeling? Welcome into Cardinalytics for the very first time.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me, man. I was telling you before the show, Corey, like whatever I see you guys streaming, I'll put it on the TV and just kind of have it on while I'm working. So, I really like what you guys are doing over here. I follow all three of you guys on Twitter, all really, really good stuff when it comes to the Cardinals. So yeah, very happy to be here, man. Dog days of summer, like you said, I'm trying to get through it so bad. We're right there. 3 weeks until training camp. We'll hit the ground running and football season's finally here.
For sure. I mean, and now officially we got all sectors of the Cardinals covered. East Coast guys, me, Shaw, even Jake, formerly an East Coast guy covering the Cardinals as a fan from the outside. Jake as a fan now in Arizona, and Donnie as a media member who covers the Cardinals in the facility. So all things literally covered here on our Cardinalytics. But today we are quickly going to be talking about the biggest questions and storylines of the 2025 Cardinals. So, fellas, I think one of the first storylines I wanted to start with today is mainly, most of the time we talk about training camp, we talk about position battles, who's going to emerge in those. A lot of things that happen when it comes to sometimes injuries pop up. So some guys have to step up and may not be needed at the time. But let's talk about one of the two positions I think that are going to be the biggest storylines of the training camp for positioning battles. And that will be the right guard position. And I would believe it to be the outside cornerback position. So let's start with Shad today. I think, Shad, who would you like to see maybe in those right guard and outside corner positions? And maybe also, who do you think will win those positions in training camp come week one?
Okay. Yeah. As far as the guard position on offensive line, I feel like they're probably just gonna throw Isaiah out there. I mean, they drafted him third round last year, so ideally, I feel like they would want to see what they got in that in terms of like if he performs, and that's a good return on investment when it comes to that. But I think the real like to me like the more interesting battle is going to be the outside cornerback position because obviously like you get Will Johnson, right? Like who y'all know, like that's my guy. Like I feel like he could put together a great rookie season, but how early are they going to trust him? And like we won't really know that until maybe like how he looks in preseason or how he looks in training camp. But I kind of feel like it's going to be Starling on one side and then Max or or Will on the other side. I like how Starling played last year. You know what I'm saying? Like Max was a little shaky, like second round pick. Hopefully he looks a little bit better this year, but I'd like to think that Will is going to start, but I could see them rolling out Max just because he's been out there for, he's played. So
Mm-hmm. Donnie, I know you've been to practices, the viewing portion of the media, the members that get to see. So you've got a chance to see Will Johnson up close. Obviously, all three of us here are fans of Will Johnson and his potential for this team. Some people had his injury concerns, but do you possibly see Will Johnson as one of those two corner positions? And also, who do you see starting at right guard for the Arizona Cardinals in week one?
Yeah, really quick on right guard. It really feels like Isaiah Adams' job to lose, right? They didn't bring back Will Hernandez. He's still a free agent. And I don't want to discount Will Hernandez coming back to the desert just yet. I believe he still has to pass a physical in order to actually sign a contract. So maybe that's what's holding him up in terms of landing somewhere. But like everybody thought he was going to go to Dallas and follow Clayton Adams, his offensive line coach, whenever he got that job as their coordinator. But then they drafted a guard in the first round, so that kind of got the Cowboys out of the mix. So would I be shocked if Will Hernandez came back? No, whatsoever. And honestly, if we're putting together like a best starting five, and this is no slight to Isaiah Adams, but I do think Will Hernandez right now is a better guard, and I do think he'd probably give you a better chance to win if healthy. But obviously, if healthy, carries a lot of weight. There's a lot of questions around whether or not he can kind of be that tough interior guy that he's shown to be in the last couple of years he's been in Arizona. So right now, it kind of looks like Isaiah Adams. There's really nobody behind him that I think is like a legitimate threat unless Adams just plays awful in training camp. He signed, what was it, Royce Newman in free agency, who did sign for the Packers a couple of years ago. But he's kind of tailed off just in terms of playing time. And then they've got other guys like John Gaines and then the Texas kid I'm blanking that they drafted in the 6th round. But I don't think any of those guys are really threats to a guy like Adams. Like Rashad said, like he started last year after Will Hernandez went down. Him and Tristan Colon kind of rotated at right guard before Isaiah kind of like took that job by the throne and never really looked back towards the end of the year. So they seem to really like him at right guard. I think that confidence will kind of build into training camp. We'll see from there. But quarterback, that's a completely different story. Even before Sean Murphy-Bunting got hurt, it felt like the door was a little bit open for Will Johnson to go and start. But with Murphy-Bunting out of the picture now, there's a very good possibility. I do agree with Rashad though, where you're probably going to lean on those quote unquote veteran guys and Max Melton, Starling Thomas to start out. But I'm telling you right now, do not be surprised whenever they rotate Will Johnson in with the ones that are in training camp. That's going to make headlines. It's going to be very, very prominent. But they want to see him and they want to see how he reacts in training camp in preseason against bona fide wide receiver ones in the NFL, and that'll give them a really good evaluation tool for that. If you're asking me on July 2nd right now, I'm probably going to go Starling Thomas and Max Melton. And I think as the year goes on, Will Johnson kind of gets a little bit more comfortable. I think he'll probably be rotated into that set.
Yeah, it's funny that you said that about Will Hernandez, because I think in my notes I put Adams unless they don't sign Will Hernandez. I think that literally was kind of what everybody's thinking too. So, and then Texas kid Hayden Connor was also on my radar, possibly as having a chance to possibly get that spot too. But Jake, who are you thinking about right guard? Probably Adams seems to be the consensus around here, but right guard and as well as those cornerback positions. We need those cornerback positions to be true in Jonathan Gannon's scheme. So who do you think is going to go out there and take the mantle for us week 1?
As far as the guard, I would love to get Will back. I was a huge fan of his. Think he just plays with like a big attitude, and in today's league, I don't think that can be overlooked. Just having like that. Dude, I'm not gonna lie. Like he had probably a few too many unnecessary roughness calls like after the play stuff, but there's nothing I love more than a lineman going out there and just blowing somebody up after the play, like for kind of a late hit on the quarterback, stuff like that. So yeah, I just like that he plays with kind of a high motor, to quote JG, and just like the violence. So if it were up to me, that'd be my top option. Obviously, kind of as you've been saying, it seems Adams is sort of the guy right now. But yeah, that kid Hayden Connor. I don't know if any of you guys saw it, but they did like actually, Donnie, you probably were in the room, but I was listening to like the initial press conferences with like the rookies, and he had a pretty good one. I was very impressed just with his character, and seems like a super bright guy. I feel like I remember them saying he was going to school for like aerospace engineering or something along that vein. So honestly, anytime, and honestly too, I'm not surprised that we picked him, just knowing Monty and his thing for kind of bright individuals and sort of go-getters in that regard, high characters. So I'm excited to see what he can do. But yeah, as far as the guard, like you guys said, definitely agree. Probably Adams slated to go as right now. And then as far as the cornerbacks, like Donnie, what you're saying makes complete sense. I would love to see Will kind of come in off the rip and just sort of be that guy that we all hope for him to be. I feel like, the joint practice, I think it's with Denver, if I remember correctly, might be like telling as far as how he handles that. Like Donnie, you're talking about, how he looks against true number ones. So obviously, like getting the rub with Marv, and then going to Denver and seeing how he stacks up against their best. And one guy that I think sort of under the radar, the hometown kid, Denzel Burke. I have high hopes for him. I feel like he's another guy that I've kind of been following closely ever since we drafted him. Super excited for his potential. I feel like he's got, like, at least from the press conferences I've seen, and then obviously like the film, sort of like this, I guess, quiet confidence. When he's speaking, but then on the field he's definitely plays big. So you never know. Like, he could turn out to be a guy. So I guess as of right now, I would say Adams as far as the guard, and then probably just kind of stick with the same opinion you guys are bringing, with the hope that Will gets the nod early, and then that Denzel might be able to flourish. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm with most of y'all. I think definitely Adams, obviously, like a guard outside of, like I said, unless they sign Will Hernandez. The quarterback position is definitely interesting to me. I know. They're likely to rotate all, three of the three outside guys that are healthy. Obviously, we know Garrett's probably playing a maximum of snaps possible within the slot. But those three outside guys, they're definitely viable to be rotated. We know they like to rotate defensive linemen. They also did rotate corners last year as well. So probably telling that you'll see, like, the guys, especially early on in the season, not quite last out there as long. But at the same time, I think once we get to the break of the season, I think for sure Will Johnson, and I'm with you kind of on Star Thomas shot. I think he's played well enough the last 2 years as a UDFA to put him out there. And if he starts messing up, then you start talking about Max Melton going out there full time. But honestly, the logjam at corner for me, and especially in this scheme for Jonathan Gannon, isn't upsetting at all. I would love to have. I love that we can go almost 5-6 guys deep before you start worrying in those aspects of cornerback. So good to see the cornerback room is full. I'm glad to see Will Johnson was the pick for us. Just makes it as deep as possible. Obviously, losing SMB kind of hurts a little bit. We have a love-hate relationship, me with SMB over here, so it hurts a little bit. But hopefully he is able to progress and get better. And there's a couple of other camp matchups that I'm kind of looking forward to. We're talking about, obviously, we just mentioned it, Will and Marv. That's going to be an epic one-on-ones every single snap that they go out there. That'll be great to see. Paris Johnson Jr. versus Josh Sweat. Those couple matchups that they get, ones on runs, that'll be very, very interesting to see what type of leaps Paris can take. Obviously, he's a great run blocker. Had a little bit of a down year as a pass blocker, but going against a guy like Josh Sweat every day is going to make him better. Yelda Froholt versus Dalvin Tomlinson in the trenches like that. We just saw the clip of Yelda moving out the UFC fighter Sean Strickland. So hopefully, Dalvin Tomlinson can get his fair share too. But Yelda's a strong guy, strong Viking. So those are a couple interesting, matchups I got coming into training camp. So on to topic number 2, obviously training camp again, as we talked about it. So I know, Donnie, you were there to cover it last year on the field and in the stadium. We saw Darius Robinson, we saw BJ Ojulari have amazing training camps, real guys that were threatening towards the offensive line, consistent, looked like they were going to be real true game records. Obviously they ended up getting hurt, which sucks for us. It sucks for us as a team, I should say. But obviously most of these guys, Darius Robinson obviously already fully healthy back. BJ Ojulari almost there, almost fully back. Who do we expect to see as the star of training camp, I would say, this year? Donnie, you can go first. Just who you expect to see go out there and just continue to, draw eyes, whether they're playing instantly or, just when they walk out, honestly, out of the field, like maybe the star power when they come out there. Who do you think could be the star of training camp of 2025?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of candidates that can kind of fill those shoes. One guy I'm kind of circling right now is Cody Simon, 4th round pick out of Ohio State at middle linebacker. And you talk about like a rare opportunity for a day 3 guy to come in immediately, maybe see some playing time. Cody Simon can potentially do that. They lost Kaiser White for agency, who still is also unsigned along with Will Hernandez. They signed Akeem Davis-Gaither. The jury's still kind of out on him and what he can do. just in terms of replacing Kaiser next to a guy like Mac Wilson. Cody Simon, a very, very impressive resume, ran the Ohio State defense last year, Rose Bowl MVP, national championship game defensive MVP. Like he produced. He's a very, very smart, intelligent dude. Like he's more of that sideline to sideline linebacker. So like he's going to get an opportunity to really show himself. And it wouldn't shock me at all if eventually down the line of 2025, he emerges as that starter. But I mean, that all starts in training camp, right? And it feels like every year, the last couple of years, the Cardinals have had a rookie just kind of burst on the scene. We saw it with, like you said, B.J. Ojulari, Darius Robinson last year. It really feels like, obviously, the most obvious names like Will Johnson can come in and steal the show. Then, like everybody else was saying, like maybe like Denzel Burke or somebody else like that. But Cody Simon in that interior role, like he's going to get a lot of looks, a lot of run with the first and the second team. So the opportunity's there. And he's a good football player. That's really all you can ask of him. So he's kind of the guy I'm projecting to make that jump in training camp.
I wasn't even thinking of that's a good one. I wasn't even thinking about Cody and the opportunities that he's going to have, obviously going into training camp. So I definitely like that one right there. Jake, who are you thinking could be eye popping for you going into training camp? I know a lot of studs on this football team, especially on the defensive side. But who are you leaning towards as your start at camp? Oh, got you muted there, brother. There you go.
Nah, still can't hear you.
I don't got you yet.
Nope.
Still not yet.
All right.
Like, yeah, you gonna drop down?
Okay, yeah. While he's doing that, I can go ahead and say mine. I feel like I might steal yours too because I'm gonna give two names. First and foremost, like y'all mentioned, like BJ, y'all mentioned Darius. The one thing that like I just want to get out the way is like just no injuries this year. Like we just gotta avoid the major injuries. Like it was like we're like a step ahead, but then we like hit with the injury, like a major hit. This year, the team has a lot to where like you kind of mentioned with the cornerback, now the defensive line sustain that and like go through that. But as far as like camp standouts or stars, I'd love to hear that like Marv comes in and is just dusting everybody. Like we've already seen the photos of him looking jacked, right? Like he's still put on some weight. Hopefully he hasn't lost any of his speed. And I just want to hear from people that the game is slowed down for Marv. Like when we go into the like when we do like the team versus team like training camps, like he's out there dusting everybody, like just unguardable. So like that's kind of what I want to hear from the offensive side. From the defensive side, we haven't talked about your boy Fat Boy Walt in the middle. You know what I'm saying? Walter Nolan.
That boy.
So no, hearing that he's also dominating too, like in these team on team like training camps, and hearing that he's ready to kind of go out there in a initially he's gonna be out there in a rotational role, right? But like knowing that hey, like we can rely on him on third downs in a pass set or pass rush set, like that would hear that he's balling out.
Definitely, those are two good ones. Do we got you now?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we got you now.
Awesome. All right, sorry about that. Technical difficulties.
Okay.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I was gonna say I kind of came in late, but Shot, I'm pretty sure you said Marv as like a camp breakup. Yeah. All right. I'll just say quickly, I really hope Marv comes in and just blows the doors off this thing this year. I think we were all kind of teased a little bit last year, just waiting. And, given he had a couple really nice games, obviously LA and then Miami was a sneaky, really good game. But I'll change it up and I'll say Trey Benson. I think I've been watching this guy, kind of just keeping tabs, just seeing what the coaches are saying and, stalking the social media here and there, seeing what he's up to. Seems like he's been working, man, like all off season, talking about 1A and 1B, right? Like potentially given shades of Gibbs and Montgomery last year. Obviously different style of runners, but I just think if we're able to get that 1A, 1B between him and Connor, love James Conner. Hate to say anything negative about him, but obviously getting a little bit up there in age, just the potential for injury starts to become a little higher, and just being just a hard-nosed bruising back that he is. welcoming contact, like it makes me a little bit nervous. So, hopefully stays healthy, everything goes well, but I just see, Trey really stepping up, and seems like he's been working with James a lot, and, Connor has all good things to say about him. I think he might have bulked up a little bit, but similar to Marv, says he feels like, he's running just as fast. So that's always good. And just excited to see what he can do. I feel like, and I remember Kyler mentioned it too at one point, like it kind of took him a little bit to sort of get comfortable in the NFL last year, moving fast for him and everything. And, kind of trying to do too much behind the line. But I feel like as the season went on, he started hitting some pretty big runs. So excited to see what he can do. And I guess that's my breakout candidate, at least offensively. Defensively, I mean, I know he did it last year, but gotta say D-Rob again. Like that was just another one where kind of like shades of Ojulari, where just has the injury. And I know BJ's wasn't until after that rookie year, but everything that went on with D-Rob's mom, and all that stuff as well, just made it obviously super tough for him in year one. So you want to talk about another guy too that seemed to bulk up even more, which I don't even know how that's possible, but everyone's saying he's bigger. So just bringing the boom. I think he seems like a guy that'll kind of go out there and just dominate again, and then be able to actually bring it to start the season. So super excited about that. And then got to go back to my guy Denzel Burke. I don't know, man. I just got a feeling about this kid. Love what he's about. Love the attitude, the demeanor. And I know he played 5 years, right? At Ohio State.
4 or 5, yeah. That sounds all right.
Played a lot of ball there. A lot of meaningful football too.
Right,
Yep.
right. So he like when you listen to him, and Donnie, I'm sure you can attest to this too. Just the way he talks, you just get like this feeling that he's pretty mature and got a good head on his shoulders and kind of been around the block a bit. So almost strikes me as that guy that's like kind of like a veteran rookie, which I know is kind of an ironic statement, but that's just the feel I get. I feel like he's all about ball, kind of JG's perfect type of personality at that position. So I don't know, man. I feel like there's a chance he can make some noise.
Mm. Yeah, great minds think alike, because I was also thinking Trey Benson, running back, to have a possible one of the best camps coming into this 2025 training camp. Obviously, same reasons that you mentioned. He feels like 1A, 1B. That's a great comparison of Montgomery and Gibbs, the type of explosion they could have together, including power, but just the touchdown scoring, really. Like those two guys, the amount of touchdowns Montgomery and Gibbs had together, they almost had the same, more combined touchdowns than some teams scored in the season. So it's, Trey Benson definitely has the opportunity, obviously, with James Conner getting older, but just, being a younger back that can spell him a little bit more trust from the offense, from the quarterback, from the play caller. I think all that will come to fruition. Like you said, he's bulked up, but still kept that speed. So definitely looking for him in camp this year. But y'all know where I was going on defense. I don't even know why we asked. That boy Rav is going crazy in the training camp this year. I'm telling you, he's going crazy. I think obviously Buda and Jalen will be out there, so they'll get the runs with the ones. But when Rabbit will step on the field, he will make plays. Donnie, you all just talked to him in the media session. He's also feeling good. You can tell it's kind of a trend with these year 2 guys. They're all feeling really good about where they are in their development. So definitely love to see Rav, have the ability to take a chance to take that next mantle to where if God forbid, if Jalen Thompson or Buda Baker do get hurt, there's a seamless plug that literally fills into the same exact spot. So I'm definitely excited for Rav and to see what he can do, make a couple plays this spring. Have some people watching them and realizing that this defense, even if death comes into it, that they're still in a nice, decent spot. So overall, and then Shaw, you mentioned it with the Marvin stuff and just what he does in training camp. I think I'm way more excited for this joint practice than I was last year. Obviously, going to Indy, they are a good football team. Don't get me wrong. We do end up playing them this year, but the Broncos just add more of a presence for you to practice against, if that makes sense. Like we're talking about Sean Payton, who's one of the greatest coaches of all time. Talking about Vance Joseph, who have a chance to kind of try to want to embarrass us if he wants to a little bit. But just his defense in general. We're talking about Zach Allen, who's a former Cardinal. had a monster season. So getting to see him against that offensive line, Nick Benito, who had success. A lot of defensive names over there. Drake Greenlaw, Hufanga, who they added. And then obviously the Marvin versus Pat Surtain one-on-ones. Those will be must-see TV. So if you got, anything that you want to see over there in Broncos country, if you do have availability to see practice, you got to make sure that your eyes are locked in on the ones when Marvin and Pat Surtain are going. So that's a little bit, for our training camp stuff. I definitely am excited for training camp. Like Chad said, first and no injuries. We do not want to see that. We don't want to see anything of the sorts because we want our team to be whole. Even if, a little bumps and bruises, we would like to see our team whole. So speaking of wholeness, that offense going into this season, obviously not too many additions were made. Not too many players were added. Obviously, they drafted a right guard. They added a couple linemen here and there to fill out depth. But your skill players, your quarterback, your running back, and 4/5 of your offensive line are going to be the same exact piece, or really the entirety of the offensive line will be the same pieces going into it. So they're banking on their continuity. Obviously, Drew Petzing has mentioned about adding, levels to this offense. Trey McBride called it sauce. That's funny. Trey McBride called it that, but overall, just however he can see what steps Drew Petzing can take to this offense. So what do you all think, can take this offense to the next level? For me personally, I think one of the biggest things is for them to have success on first downs. I think having success on first downs this season, obviously, we know what kind of team the Cardinals are in the running game. But if you can have success in first downs, especially if you're, running a passing set on a first down, I think keeping the ball in front of the numbers or keeping the ball going forward instead of going backwards, that was a big thing for me with Cliff Kingsbury. Obviously, people mention the screens, but a lot of sideways plays, left and right plays that could sometimes generate negative plays and push you backwards. I think this version of the Cardinals is very good when they're going north and south and forward. So I think success on first down is obviously going to be a huge one. But then also, as we mentioned, opening up the playbook, the explosives. Are we going to be able to see those going into this next season where, Marvin is not just a decoy route or a clear out route, but he's the underneath route from a clear out route to help generate plays there, help generate more 20-yard gains. Just seeing more explosive, I think, will obviously open up this run game even more. So what do you all, anybody can go really, if you all think this offense could take the next step, what kind of development either they can make or, what could they do successfully to take the next step offensively?
Go ahead, Jake.
All right. So I don't know if you guys remember me talking about this, in one of our last pods, but I just looked it up because I had a really good feeling. Corey, I know you mentioned, having more success on first down, which is huge, and I feel like that's been a trend, back to the Cliff days of negative plays, like early on, getting behind the sticks, and then calling in a draw play on like 3rd and 25. So seen too much of that, but like I said, I don't know if you guys remember me mentioning this, but I felt like our average starting field position has been poor for quite a while. I just looked it up. Last year, we were 30th in the league, which that was just a total guess for my part. Like I'm a fanatic of the game. I feel like I watch every single game of every team, but like that's how I felt. I wasn't sure if there's any bias in it, but we were literally the 3rd worst in the league. And like when you look at like I guess like a little deeper into it, right? Like we loaded up on the defensive side of the ball. Hopefully, right, we might be able to start, having some drives start around our own 40, 38, the opposing 45, things of that nature, because I just feel like that never happens. And I think when you're starting like behind the sticks to open up a drive, I feel like it just always goes south from there. So I think that'll be huge, just having more presence on defense. Getting the offense on the field a little bit more and in more advantageous positions. And then additionally, I can't say that we're going to be improved in this category because we just didn't really do anything. But I was really hoping that we were going to go out and sign some sort of speedster. I feel like a guy like Marv, like in Corey and Shaw, you guys know I was harping on this like really early on last year. Just the speed wasn't really impressing me at all. I joked about him running like a like a 5.5 40, that kind of thing. So obviously a little too harsh, but the speed just didn't jump off the page for me at all. Like it felt like Larry was never a fast guy, but like it felt like Larry played at like such a faster speed than Marv did. So hopefully he can become a little bit more elusive, and then I don't know, maybe he's been able to work on the north and south speed a little bit more. Then like you got a guy like Mike Wilson, who I love, but again, not really a threat as far as the speed goes. What I would like to see is unlocking, and Corey, I know you're not going to be a huge fan of this, but unlocking Greg Dortch a little bit more. I just feel like he's the guy that's got a lot of pop. Like I look at him as like a water bug. Like he's got that crazy twitchy speed. Obviously, like his 40's not blazing or anything, but just east and west, I feel like he's so quick. Like there's that viral clip of him at the joint practice in Indy last year, just toasting whoever that was, like off the line. Might have been like a double move or something, but so just Petzing finding a way to utilize his speed a little bit more. And if he doesn't want to do that, then we still do have to sign someone, because that like the speed just isn't there. Like, Marv's your one, he's not fast. Trey is like really 1A, 1B, right? I know he's a tight end, but 1,150 yards last year. He's not super fast either, being a huge, bulky tight end. So that's my worry, right? Is like, I do love the fact that we stacked up in the draft on defense and in free agency, but I still am not 100% confident in the offense running it back without some sort of speed component. I feel like a lot of the top teams last year do have that speed. Like Eagles obviously got Devontae Smith, Lions, Amon-Ra, Jameson Williams, like crazy speed. And I do feel like speed does kill, and we just don't really have that. So I don't know, Donnie, maybe you can provide me a little comfort on that front. I don't know, man. I'm a little nervous about that.
I will say real quick, we did sign Quez Watkins, so like that is a speedster right there. Like if we're just a straight speedster.
Like that, no, yeah, you're right. No, that's facts.
We do have Quez.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. But like Quez didn't play last year, because I remember I had the same exact concerns that you guys did. Because I'm like, there's not a guy for an offense that wants to hit explosives play after play after play. They don't have the guy to do it. At least speed wise, they don't have a track star, and they also don't have like a premier like go up and get a guy that Kyler had with like DeAndre Hopkins for a few years out here too. There's just like I love Mike Wilson as a wide receiver too. I think he's a great contested catch guy. Marv obviously has all the potential in the world, but like he's not a track star. He's not Calvin Johnson. If I had $1 for every time I got pissed watching Drew Petzing and try to throw him a 50-50 ball 20 yards downfield and expect him to come down with it, it's just why Marv has never been asked to do that in his life. Why is now the time we're trying to turn him into a contested catch guy? And that's not what he is, given his 6'4" is that his frame, whatever it is. He's a big dude and he bulked up for sure this offseason, but like I just don't think he's that kind of receiver. Quez Watkins though, yeah, he ran a 4.3, something crazy like that.
No, he's fast.
Yeah. So like he could potentially be that guy. But I was really hoping they would have gone like a Gabe Davis, or if we're getting crazy, like I've been pounding the table somehow for them to go get Jalen Waddle off of Miami if they're going to be having a fire sale down in South Beach. But no, I'm right there with you, man. I think if we're kind of harping on like what the offense needs to do a little bit better, I'm with you, Corey. Like Drew Petzing's got to figure out what to do with the guys that he has, because he's got the ingredients in the kitchen. Now he's got to cook. Like they didn't make any changes to the offense. You're basically saying, hey, Drew, like we're confident in you, we're confident in everybody, and I'm sure if Petzing or Gannon or Kyler really wanted a new wrinkle or a new addition to that offense, they would have made it happen. But they didn't. They're really confident in that continuity, kind of saving them for 2025. But like it's definitely 1,000%, up to Petzing to really evolve his offense and into year 2 of what's going to be a fully healthy Kyler Murray under his system.
So it's a true risk reward type of gamble here, because I mean you're playing with another year older of Kyler getting older, but also Drew Petzing. I mean, yes, you got coaching. You had a coaching interview last offseason, but if your offense fails to have any type of success or improvement then you're just going to become a stagnated guy that may not have the ability to get another chance.
Yep.
So it's a strong gamble. They're definitely taking a lot of guys. Sean, what do you possibly
Yeah.
see with this offense taking this next step going into this season?
So Jake kind of like touched on it like when he first was talking about defense in terms of like starting field position. But I just feel like in general, just us having a better defense this year, or just like, as the years have progressed, like that, if I'm a coordinator, if I'm JG, I'm going Drew Petz, and I'm like, hey, like we got to open this up some. We can't be as conservative as we were in two ways. Like, I mean, we can open it up. Y'all mentioned obviously like attacking more downfield, having more like deep shots, like explosives. But also like we just gotta get the ball in people's hands. So like, I mean, Marv, I think we talked about it. Like Marv was like, in terms of all like the receivers to have like catches behind the line of scrimmage, I think he was like dead last with just one. And I'm not saying that Marv is just this like crazy after the catch guy, but like he's a playmaker. He's your guy. If you want to make him, you drafted him at the 4th overall pick. Like it's guys like D Hop that we've had in the past where it's like you put the ball in their hands and they're not crazy shifty, but they can still make stuff work. Like I'm not about to sit here and say that Marv can't do anything after the catch, right? Like at minimum, we got to make him a focal point, and whether that's like on deep shots, whether that's behind the line of scrimmage, like I just feel like those two options can help us open up the passing game, open up the offense from a coordinator standpoint. Now, from like a player standpoint, Marv and Kyler just weren't on the same page last year. Like, I think I think Marv had like 130 something targets and only caught like 70, 60 balls, something like that. So you inch that up to maybe like where he's catching 80% of that, that's automatically like, an influx that's automatically helping the offense in terms of, making it better.
Yeah, I definitely could see they need that chemistry. Obviously, like chemistry is
Yeah.
going to be the biggest thing for them. But their chemistry is profound enough that that'll outweigh any type of scheme or anything like that because it's a simple. I mean, we've seen it with Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. A simple head flick, motion hand, and they know exactly what route what route Devontae Adams is going to run and where Aaron Rodgers is going to actually throw the ball and with the ball. So it'll be a strong test.
I say the more opportunities that they have, like even if it's like I said, like a quick flick, like an easy screen pass, the more opportunities or the more times that they're connecting in the game, the more that's going to grow. Because obviously they're working outside of the games, like in the off season, training camp, all that stuff, building that connection. But like if we're only throwing it to him 8 times a game, and those 8 times, let's just say out of those 8 times, like 5 of them are like design plays to him, right? Then I don't know how often like you're really building that chemistry in the game. Like just a quick screen pass, a quick slant route, whatever that is, that'll help build that chemistry. So that when the game does come down to it, like when the game's on the line, like we saw in the Carolina game at the end of the season last year, we're trying to force it to Marv. Well, we haven't been forcing it to him all game. We haven't been getting them acclimated all game. We can't just go to that when we desperately need it. We have to kind of build on that throughout the game.
Definitely agree. Marvin needs to be a focal point as well as, like you said, the chemistry has to be there. As we're speaking on receivers, Donnie, you probably can speak onto this a little bit better than me. I'm not sure who number 30 is, but is he as good as the clips that are put out about him? Because I see him run out there and he looks like a solid young man, a receiver, fast,
Bryson
athletic.
Green.
Yeah, I don't know who he is, where he's from, but they put out a couple of clips of number 30 running around, and I thought that was very clean. I thought it was crisp on time. He's probably not running with the ones, but
Yeah, I like the last receiver I remember wearing 30 for the Cardinals was Antoine Wesley. So I'm trying to like jog my memory of like who could
low key
be.
that's where I was going with it because I know we talked about jump balls and who could be that type of guy. I'm not sure how tall exactly he is, but he looks like he's pretty tall, and that's exactly what I was thinking about when Kyler had an option like that down the field, one-on-ones like that, jump ball contested with Antoine Wesley. So. I'm not sure who this Bryson guy is or if he's actually going to get a real shot.
Bryson Green from Wisconsin. He's a 6'1", 207 dude.
Okay, he's only 6'1". I don't know why I thought he looked like he's 6'5". I don't know. He was moving well though, so hopefully.
I mean, you know how good you got to be to not be 6'5", but look like you're playing like you're 6'5". Like
as they said, he definitely has a good shot to hopefully not only make this team, especially that back end of the receiver. I mean, you got Weaver, Watkins. Jones, I
Fehoko.
guess, is kind of maybe solidified, but yeah, Fehoko, who's probably going to be a special teams guy for you, and then as well as his Bryson guy. So, and then Bachelia, who seems to never be able to leave the facility. So,
Practice squad legend, man. They love him. They love him, bro.
yeah. So that group's a decent, definitely decently deep. And speaking of another group that's now definitely deep is the defensive line. Obviously, the additions: Calais Campbell, Dalvin Tomlinson, Walter Nolan, Josh Sweat, Jordan Birch. Names go on. The returners of Darius Robinson, B.J. Ojolari, David Collins. The interior guys: Bilal, Justin Jones, who are going to be coming back. Like these guys, this group now from this point last year to now is a completely made over group. Obviously, the additions were made both in the free agency and the draft. I want to know from you guys. I guess Shaw, we can start with you. Who from the newcomers, so in that newcomer group, that can be a rookie and or any of the free agent additions, will have the most production or accomplishments for you in the 2025 season, as well as any of those returners. Does David Collins take another step at edge? Does BJ come back and be one of those guys? Does Darius Robinson come back and be a guy? So who are the newcomers do you see, having a chance to have the most production for this team, as well as who are from the returners do you see having the most production?
I feel like the newcomers, like obviously you want to lean, and like I feel like the thing that I can't every single year, as far as I can remember, is just interior run defense. So like Dalvin and Calais, like starting with them two, I feel like if they stay healthy, then we're gonna get a ton of production out of them. And I mean they're vets. I think Dalvin's been in the league for like 10 years now. We know Calais has been around the block. If they can stay healthy, like I like them being in terms of like producing. I like them being like really changing the defense up front. As far as like the younger guys, I'm an LSU guy, so like BJ, like we got to see. So honestly, this is kind of a make it or break it year for BJ. We got to kind of see something, because this is what, year 3 or 4.
3.
Year 3. So it's just like, yeah, if we don't really see nothing from you, then we're kind of gonna be looking to move on. But we have a ton of guys like now between Zaven, BJ, Josh Sweat, D-Rob, like we got a ton of guys on the outside now that I feel like super confident with, in terms of getting to the passer now. And then obviously we got Walt coming in the middle, and anything that we get from him, honestly, like even though he's the first round pick, like it's just to me it's like a cherry on top, because I expect us to lean a lot on the veteran guys that obviously some of the veteran guys that we signed last year who unfortunately weren't healthy, but more so on Dalvin Tomlinson and Calais up front.
Yeah, I was definitely with you. I was going to say Dalvin Tomlinson as well, because the ability to play, too high safety and still stop the run, that creates so many mismatches for you on the defensive side. And obviously we know Jonathan Gannon and Nick Rallis wants to do that. Yeah, we know they want to do that type of stuff. So if they're able to play that type of split safety, 2 guys back, but only having, 3 to 5 defensive guys on the defensive line, but still able to stop the run, that'll be massive for the development in terms of the creativity, but 2, just the production of how things can look. So Donnie, who are you feeling for possibly the newcomer and returner that have some good production for us in 2020?
Yeah, I'm leaning Calais Campbell here, and it's crazy to say because he's entering year number 18. But like you look at the guys around him, like Dalvin Tomlinson, like eats double teams like left and right every other snap. It's what they brought him to Arizona to do, is kind of just free everybody else up, and like Dalvin can still be very, very productive in his own right too. Like he's one of the like top defensive tackles in the league for a reason. Like Rashad said, he's been doing it for a long time too. It's not like he's been a flash in the pan. He has a very established track record. But between Tomlinson, kind of just like being a black hole in the interior defensive line, and Josh Sweat right next to Calais Campbell out on the edge. I mean, are you going to not double team the dude who wrecked Patrick Mahomes for 2.5 sacks in the Super Bowl? Because if not, then have fun, right? Like it's so interesting to see like how that's going to shape out. But like Calais Campbell's been productive like nearly everywhere he's been. And even though he's like incredibly old now, like I still expect him to be able to have at least the opportunity to put up the numbers, because like you can only double team so many guys on that defensive line. Tomlinson's a big dude for a reason. Sweat has a resume that commands respect off of the edge, and so I think Campbell's kind of that guy's a newcomer. The returning guys, I'm looking at Baron Browning. They really, really liked him after they acquired him via trade from the Broncos last year. He didn't put up sack numbers, but like if you look at the other pass rush metrics, like he played pretty well. That, you know, that's saying something considering he didn't really have a lot of time to adjust, really get his feet settled. So they brought him back this year in free agency. I think he was their first move, if I remember correctly. They really like him. They brought him to kind of be the yin to Zaven Collins' yang in terms of Collins being a good rush outside linebacker, in terms of like stopping the run, but not necessarily getting after the passer. Whereas Baron Browning, pass rush specialist. I do think if we're projecting right now, I think Baron Browning is going to be the guy opposite of Josh Sweat come week one in their base 3-4 defense as a starter. Obviously, a bunch of time between now and then, but Browning's going to have plenty of opportunity. They rotate their guys heavily along the defensive front seven for very good reason too. So everyone's going to get a shot, but like they like Browning. They're really convinced of what he could be as a pass rush guy. Maybe the sack numbers won't be there, but the pressure numbers should be there. When you have an improved secondary, an improved defensive line, that's only good news for everybody.
Mm-hmm. I completely forgot about Baron Browning. I will not.
Yeah, I forgot. I forgot about him too.
He took so much shit when we grabbed him that I completely, literally, forgot about him right now. So go ahead, Chuck.
And I was about to say, you bring up a good point. Like, you know, like it's only so many people you can double team, and now I feel like we have so many guys that like just even rotating them in and out, like they can win their one-on-ones pretty consistently. Like Baron Browning, like I know just from him being on the team last year, like his pass rush move, I think it was like his spin move or something like that. Like he was like one of the top in the league at using that spin move. So like you got him on the outside one-on-one most of the times, like because they're going to be doubling, like you said, Dalvin or Calais or even Darius Robinson because he's just a big ass dude. Like they're gonna be doubling all these dudes, right? I mean, they're gonna be trying to double all these dudes. So we have a bunch of guys that can win one-on-ones now. So that's good.
I think he hit that spin move and then did that crazy dance at that game we were at.
The
whatever his little dance, the sack dance was. So that was definitely good to see. Jake, you know, our returners are in a good spot, but these newcomers are elite type of guys. So who are you feeling to be, you know, the newcomer that's going to make the most impact, but as well as the returners who can make the most impact?
I think newcomer that'll make the most impact. I feel like if he's motivated and plays angry, I feel like Sweat could be just massive. And something you touched on earlier, Corey, that I think is like super underrated in all of this is Paris having to go against them in practice. I think is so massive for the team altogether because Paris is like obviously, you know, he's very, very early pick, you know, 6th overall a few years ago. But look at who he's gone against in practices. It's not really conducive to getting him to play at an elite level. So I kind of excuse his pass protection numbers that were down a little bit last year to that. So I think just having a guy like Sweat that can really test him and you know, iron sharpens iron type of deal, I think will be huge. But yeah, like Sweat, I can't really get a gauge on him. Like part of me wonders, is he super excited to be here, or is he kind of like about it? That's the only thing that worries me a little bit. I don't know. There was a video that came out like when we first acquired him about. He was still wearing like an Eagles hat or something at a gas station. Someone like got a video of him. I don't know, stuff like that. Like you guys know me. Like I'm all in on this team all the time. So it's just like I just want guys to be bought in, and I would almost rather a guy that might not be as talented but just loves the team than a guy that is a little more talented. Not saying he's that, but just kind of explaining my perspective. But yeah, if he comes out like ready to play and like wants to play for us, and hopefully, you know, like. He had great numbers under Gannon, so hopefully that lights a fire and gives him some added motivation. So yeah, I think that could be massive. As far as returners, obviously as far as the D line, like I don't know, like D-Rob we never really got to see. Ojulari like flashed his first year, and then obviously just a brutal injury. I think it was like end of off season last year, which was just a killer. I don't know. Star Thomas he turned into a really, really nice talent, I think. Just a gamer, right? Like really physical at the point of the catch, which I love to see, punching balls out, which reminds me, do you guys remember who it was last year that like punched the ball out like on the goal line after getting beaten? I forget which corner it was.
That was I know
It
it might have been Star. I think it was Star.
Okay,
It
that's
might
what I
have been
thought.
I think it was Star. Yeah.
So yeah, so like I love that. I know Gannon's obviously big on that too. Just like high motor hustle, like never out of the play type. So
Mhm.
I think he could come back and improve even more. I mean, obviously this podcast loves Garrett Williams, so I think he's going to be a menace as well. Marv, obviously super high hopes. Hopefully he's able to just settle in, man. Like I feel like the expectations on him last year were just so egregiously high that kind of just set him up to fail because people regard him as having like a poor rookie year when it's like he went. I think he was like 900 plus yards, like 8 touchdowns, and like 63 catches or something crazy like that. It's like, dude, he had a pretty good year.
Mhm.
I don't know. One other thing I wanted to bring up to you guys though, while we're on the subject. So I was looking at the offensive numbers because I don't know if you guys saw Pro Football Network put out like this projection for this year, had the Cardinals as a top 5 projected offense. So I was looking at that and I'm like, how in the hell are they projecting that? Like after last year, and not adding anyone really outside of I guess Quez Watkins. But I started looking into the advanced metrics, and it looks like EPA. I guess Petzing took us from 21st to 10th last year. We were like 11th in like average points a game, 11th in I think average points per play, and then it was like 7th in total yards. So I'm looking at that and I'm like, all right, like I guess this is trending positively. But then I look back and I'm like, how do we only win 8 games if we had borderline top 10 numbers last year? And I don't know. I think it comes up to scheming the pass game where we can run the ball. We've always been able to run the ball. But just I don't know. I guess just making it work in the pass game. So I don't know if you guys had any.
I think last year, I was gonna say, I think last year people didn't necessarily respect our weapons as much as they do now, because obviously, like going into the season, Trey McBride wasn't looked at as like how he's looked now. Um, and then obviously people expect Marv to be better. And then you throw in how like the run game. I mean, they're one of the best teams at running the football in the NFL. So like I could see it be. I mean, maybe not top 5. I'm not gonna lie, top 5 is pretty steep. I can see it being top 10 for sure. But we go where Kyler goes. We go where Petson goes in terms of offense. So yeah.
Yeah, we definitely love to push any type of Cardinals propaganda here. So when I saw that, I was cheerful. I was telling people, yeah, this is exactly what I'm thinking too. But I'm also as well a little skeptical of top 5. That is a very high bar to set for yourselves. But Jake, you mentioned that they were right near the top metrics, especially top 10, hovering around there a lot throughout the season. So a couple steps forward in terms of execution and comfort and chemistry. You easily see this unit, approaching that top 5 unit. So like we said, obviously some newcomers are good. If anybody knows me, if you've been following me for a long time, these guys probably know. I'm gonna ride them. I'm gonna die on my hill for the returners. Collins. If David Collins is able to get more than 7.5 sacks this year, I will buy a jersey. I promise you all that. I'm gonna die on the hill. I'm still a fan. I'm not really a propaganda push anymore. I'm not a propaganda push anymore, but I'm still a fan. So I definitely want to see. Hopefully he take that next step. I think this guy is a good NFL player. Like maybe, might not be like the elitist type of guys, Pro Bowler level, but you can give us, good production on the underlying level. And I think that 7 sack marker is what he should aim to reach for this year. Obviously, a lot of mouths to feed, a lot of time he's going to get, spent on early downs when it's run defense. But if you find yourself on that 3rd down being productive early on in the season, I mean, we saw a guy, Dennis Gardeck, who we know is probably, if he was never on the Cardinals, probably would have been a career journeyman in terms of NFL. But we've seen him make a career from, just getting a few sacks here and there. So hopefully David Collins can find himself with the opportunity to have that success. So one of the last questions I have for us is on the topic of our head coach, Jonathan Gannon. So we all believe Jonathan Gannon is a very, very, very good NFL coach. I mean, he's almost like night and day between him and Cliff Kingsbury. Cliff was a very X's and O's type of guy. While Jonathan Gannon, you can tell he knows his X's and O's, but he's much more of a motivator, leader, strategist type of guy. So I'm very grateful, obviously, to have him on our football team, leading our football team. But at the same time, there are some quick critiques that some people may have on Jonathan Gannon. And going into year 3, obviously, you still look at the outlook of the division, and most people will probably tell you Jonathan Gannon is the fourth best coach in the division still. Even with Mike McDonald being a rookie head coach last year, a lot of people kind of hold him in higher regard than they do on Jonathan Gannon. So it's going to be very interesting going into this season what type of respect he can garner. But what type of critiques? I think, Donna, we can start with you. Obviously, you talk to the man on the daily when he's available. But are there any like small little critiques of Jonathan Gannon's approach to how he's running his football team or what they do on Sundays that you would like to hopefully see reverted into this 2025 season so that he has that ability to stamp his flag there that he changed or righted that wrong, I should say.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot, to be honest, man. You had sent me the list of topics before we recorded, and I'm kind of just like combing through everything, and like he checks a lot of the boxes. If you're making me pick one thing, I think maybe finding that balance between being conservative and really trying to like put the gas, pedal to the floor. I think that's something he can get better at. That's just going to come with time. And, like the one thing that pops up to me last year, that Minnesota Vikings game where they went up 12, he opted to kick the extra point instead of going for 2 to make it a 14-point lead. And then they were up 3 late in the game. Ball at like the 3-yard line with like a couple minutes left, and he didn't go for the kill shot instead of for the field goal. Minnesota drives down, gets the extra point after the touchdown to win 23-22. You really want to see him, not that he doesn't have confidence in his team, but especially today in like the modern NFL where coaches are so analytically driven to go for it on like 4th and whatever from like whatever yard line or go for 2 whenever like the occasion calls for it. Like I would just like to see Jonathan Gannon kind of bounce that a little bit better. I don't think he's awful. I don't think he's anywhere close to being a bad head coach in that regard, but I think in order to kind of push him into that echelon from like good to potentially great guys, I think that's probably one of the bigger things he's got to work on. But like everything else, like he does fine. Like you said, he knows X's and O's, but I think he's also more that CEO role to where like he's comfortable letting Drew run the offense. He's comfortable letting Nick run the defense, and he'll handle a lot of the day-to-day game operation stuff on himself. But yeah, that's really the only big thing I have for JG moving into 2025.
It's crazy because that literally is what I have too. It's not quite him per se, but I would say allowing coordinators to be a little bit less conservative. Like I thought or too much conservatism at times with the coordinators letting them be that. And so I think if you just let the leash loose, I should say. Obviously, going for 2s and going for 4th downs, that's obviously going to be all situational. But 3rd and 12s, instead of just chalking it up to a Amari DeMarcado draw, which is Rashad's favorite play, let's rip it across the middle. Let's at least try to get maybe a 10 yards and see if somebody can break a tackle for a 1st down. So just not pulling or letting the leash up a little bit, I think, is my opinion. So just that conservatism, a little bit less of that, a little bit more aggression, especially when it comes to play calling, I think will be huge for him this year. So, but Sean, is there any slight critiques that you may have of JG, and what do you hopefully can he fix them going into this next season?
I'm kind of like both of y'all. It's kind of hard to really like nitpick JG and kind of find some stuff to like really like point at for him to improve on. I think he's a very calm dude, a very like chill demeanor dude, and I kind of like that for this team. But at the same time, like y'all said, in terms of like he is a delegator and like letting his coordinators do their thing, right? I guess I would just want to see maybe just a little bit more aggressiveness. Because like this team needs to make the playoffs this year, right? So like your first year, you get a pass, like your new head coach, you're learning. Second year, like you kind of get somewhat of a pass, but like this year, I mean, Cliff's, as much as people hate Cliff, like his 3rd year, he got the team to the playoffs, right? Like they won 11 games, even though they tailed off at the end of the season. I don't care about that. I care about just making the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? So like in opportunities where you need to be more aggressive, whether it's towards your players, whether it's towards your coordinators, or just in the game, like I just want to see maybe a little bit more sense of urgency for this season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you. Just aggressiveness, like you said, aggressiveness and urgency, I think, are 2 key cogs for this. Both sides of the football, that'll be key for this team if they do want to get to that playoffs. Which we're all with you there. That's something that we would love to see, obviously, but something that we think is clearly accomplishable in the season. So, JG's your guy. You took the flick with him at the charity softball game. That is your guy. Is there any small critiques you might have of him? And so, if there are any, is he has the ability to fix them going into this season.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a huge JG guy. Nobody's perfect though. I feel like, I don't know, my critiques of him, I feel like sometimes during the games, I'm seeing him just be too stoic. Like, he's got his clipboard, right? He's got like the hand up like this, just kind of watching. And I would just like to see a little bit more energy when good things happen and when bad things happen. I feel like there's been times when really good things have happened that he's been like fired up on the sidelines, right? Like giving Kyler a high five, which I love. Like more of that. But then in the same token, I don't think I've ever seen him get mad on the sidelines in his entire tenure with the Cardinals. So in like, I know that's his personality, right? Like he's not a guy that's gonna get. I mean, he definitely gets like pretty high, but he never really gets too low, right? Like even coming off a loss, I feel like in the pressers he's always like, again, very stoic and assuming blame and things, but not really. I don't know. He never like comes out and like gets super angry. So maybe just a little more emotion would be nice. But like I said, I mean, at the end of the day, it's the guy's personality. So maybe he's just not the type to really get mad. But then again, Cliff didn't really do that either. But I don't know. I'll save my remarks about Cliff. But yeah, honestly, I feel like what you guys were saying, like Donnie, especially like the CEO aspect, I think that's a great point. Like I feel like I felt that way for some time, but didn't really know really how to verbalize it. I think you put it perfectly. Like I like that he has this trust in Rallis and Petzing, but at the same time, like Petzing could have been better last year, right? Like I think we were at a point in the season, right, where 6-4, we get this crazy win at Miami in comeback fashion. I mean, our group chat's blowing up, right? Like playoffs, this and that, everything's on the table. And then you come back after the bye, you just basically get punched in the mouth like 3 weeks in a row. And so it's like, I wish in an instance like that, like JG, and who knows what goes on behind closed doors. Like Donnie, maybe you have a better idea than the three of us do, but maybe just a little bit more accountability. And like, if Petzing's gone stale, like maybe trying to get in there yourself and trying to, light a little bit of a fire in some aspect. But then especially what makes me nervous is on defense, right? Like, I mean, Rallis, given he's like 29, maybe 30 now, like super young, but like up and comer. And he's done a good job of the defense. Now he's got all these pieces. My worry is the defense is going to light it up this year, and then all of a sudden Nick Rallis is a head coach, right? Yep. If that happens, and like based on what JG says, it seems as though Nick has all the control of the defense. And to what Donnie said, JG's kind of just an acting CEO. If we lose Rallis, what happens then? Like now does JG kind of assume like the Bill Belichick role? I mean, minus being the GM, like he's head coach and he's really kind of the guy commanding the defense, or do we have to kind of start over, the defense brings someone else in? So like on that note, I would like JG to get a little bit more involved, especially on the defensive side, because he's a defensive guy himself. So yeah, honestly, like as far as like a main critique, it's probably that, like if he could be a little bit more involved, just because I think it looks like Rallis is trending towards being a head coach probably within the next 1 to 3 years. I don't know. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, JG definitely mentions about letting his corners work. I know probably defensively he probably adds a little bit more, collaborative efforts there. But yeah, I'm with you there. Me personally, it's interesting about Rallis. I know we had our podcast last time talking about our breakouts, and that was actually like our breakout people, and that was one of my breakout people was Rallis for the NFL. But it'll be interesting to see if he actually does get hired by somewhere. Obviously, that the trend of offensive coaches becoming a head coach is kind of like the model. Some people will make it seem like, but it'll depend on how well he does in interviews. He seems like he's really actually a great interview when he's on not only the podium, talking to the media, but just any interviews I've ever heard from him. Definitely a well-spoken guy, smart about the game. So he may crush it in interviews, and that may drive the team. But who knows if that kind of CEO defensive guy is kind of the model that's kind of driving out from head coaches. And if so, I mean, to our benefit, obviously Nick's a great guy, still young, super young as well. So another 5 years of Nick Rallis wouldn't be terrible. as he continues on his path as a defensive coordinator. So, but yeah, those are definitely interesting about JG. I think JG has an opportunity this year to really stamp his flag in the NFL as a top head coach. Obviously, it's going to start with getting his team to the playoffs. That's where the most respect comes from, and it also starts with not faltering off in November and December. So obviously, that's been something that's been kind of hampering Kyler's tenure while as a Cardinal. It's just November and December, whether he's on the field or off the field, just seemingly faltering within everybody's hands, whether that be the defensive line play, defense in general, offensive line play calling, anything of the sorts could change, that nature. So starting, maybe we'll swing back to Jake here. What does this team, have to do in November and December to find themselves, staying alive and staying in the hunt consistently and not losing themselves? As you mentioned, 6-4, we're all giddy, we're all happy, we're believing playoffs is imminent, and then it comes, falling on our face. So what do you think could possibly change this team for November and December success going into this year?
Yeah, and like going back real quick to what we were just talking about, like one thing I did want to mention too with JG is, and it ties into this current topic. It's sort of a polarizing year because I feel like JG has done a great job thus far, but going into year 3, it seems it could be playoffs or bust for many different facets of this team, right? Like, I don't think anyone wants to win more than JG and Kyler this year. And I think, like I said, with this next topic that you're bringing up, it comes down to just being able to consistently deliver and not falling off at the end of the season because, Kyler and Cliff, that was kind of the MO with them. And we saw how that ended with Cliff. And so, yeah, I think this year, and obviously too, like you gotta stay healthy, right? Like that's a huge part of it. And I know we've had some struggles with that in the past. But as far as sustainability this year, in continued success as the season goes on, I think we're in a unique position this year where the schedule is not really front loaded like it was sort of last year, but it's kind of the bear is towards the end of the year. So it's a matter of, I think, starting strong, but kind of like building, right? Like I feel like back in 2021, we started off super hot, new kids on the block, just winning and winning and winning. And then everyone was like, kind of put the respect on our name that year that, yeah, this is a legit team, like this offense. And then we sort of just, you had that game in Green Bay, right? The classic AJ Green, like couldn't turn around, ices the game and kind of was the kiss of death for the season. So I just think it's a matter of, it's the NFL. You're going to hit adversity at some point, but being able to take advantage of the schedule early on, but then continue to build with it. A team like, I guess, the Eagles last year or the Lions where, they're winning early, but they're still getting better and they're still changing things up. I feel like something the Cardinals have always done is like in years that we found success, we found that recipe and then like nothing changes. And like, you just try to like run it back game to game. And then at a certain point, right, in the NFL, like these guys are really smart. They're going to figure you out. And I feel like that was sort of an issue last year is we started to catch a little bit of fire and then guys kind of just figured us out. Right. And they figured out how to stifle Kyler. And I mean, I really think back to like those Seattle games, Carolina game, just really vanilla play calling and just getting super stagnant. So I just think keeping a sense of urgency and really, and I know JG always talks about, right, like not wanting to, he's big on like keeping things fresh, right? Like you're just living in the moment, this and that, and he doesn't want to dwell on things. But to a degree with this team, man, it's been a decade since we've been in the playoffs. Like I think, or since we won a playoff game rather. I think you need to dwell a little bit, or maybe not dwell, but just keep it on the mind that we sort of flopped badly last year at the end of the year, with a chance to win the division for the first time since really 2015. So I don't know. I think just keeping the sense of urgency and just staying hungry, right? Like it's a long season, but you got to stay hungry because, going home early every year, I'm sure starts to weigh on a guy like Kyler that is used to winning and everything, but it starts with him, right? Like he's number one. So yeah, urgency and I guess just like playing with the chip this year.
For sure. Donnie, what do you see for this team in November, December? What kind of leaps they need to take?
Man, I mean, where do you start, right? I think Jake laid it all out perfectly there.
Mhm.
Really quick, going back to last year, I think it was either the Jets or the Chargers game before the bye week. They win that game. They're 6-4. You guys aren't the only ones who were talking about play. Like I'm looking at the schedule, be like, okay, let me try to like a book a flight here, maybe to try to like move some things around so I can get ready for a playoff game.
Mhm.
And then they collapsed. And we talk so much about Jonathan Gannon and kind of who he is as a coach and a person. I think one thing, just talking to him, getting to know him, interacting with him, almost not on a daily basis, but like frequently throughout the last couple of years, is he's more than anything process oriented. And I think maybe where that bit him in the behind is last year. You're 6-4. Things are going great. Kyler's being talked about as an MVP candidate. Like, you're first in the division. Like, you look like you're going to make the postseason. And like that back half of the schedule before it happened didn't look crazy daunting. Like, on paper, it didn't look too terrible at all. I think the losing started, and this is just my 2 cents. I don't have any inside info. It's just me trying to piece things together. I think maybe Gannon might have been a little too hesitant to change things while that losing was happening, because he's a process oriented guy and he didn't want to change things up that late in the season. Now, obviously, was that the right call? Maybe, maybe not. Um, I forgot exactly what press conference it was, but like towards the end of the year, it might have been in the offseason, but somebody asked him, might have been Josh Weinfuss, asked him if he made any tweaks just looking back at the bye week. And he was like, yeah, we've had some time to kind of digest it. And we learned from that. What exactly that means, I don't know. But I think they might be a little bit more prepared for that second half run of the season, regardless of how it goes. But when you're looking at November and December, like things get thick. Like, that's a different brand of football than it is in September and October, right? I think a big thing for me, what there's actually two. The first thing is going to be Kyler's consistency. Like, Kyler has flashed the ability to be a top quarterback in the National Football League time and time again, but like, it's too up and down. It's too up and down. We see great Kyler play one week. We see very mediocre Kyler play one week. And that's not to say guys like Allen and Mahomes and Lamar, they don't have off weeks, but they're consistently good enough to propel their team to wins week after week after week for the most part. Kyler had 8 interceptions in his last 7 games. A lot of the decision making down the stretch wasn't super great. It's not all on him though, and I think maybe the biggest factor for me is Drew Petzing, his inability to adjust. And I think watching the first half of the season compared to the second half of the season, things are humming well when James Conner gets the ball 25, 30 times a game. They're wearing defenses out through all 4 quarters. Defenses have to kind of come up, and then that play action that Drew Petzing loves to get Kyler out of, run these boots, finding Michael Wilson and Marvin Harrison Jr. and Shane McBride. That works in the first half of the year, but over time, defenses, they get more film on you, they get more tape on you, they see and they pick up on these little things to adjust. Defenses did towards the second half of the year. Drew Petzing did not. Drew Petzing tried the same approach from week 1 to week 18. I think that's really where they goofed. So it's really going to be up to Drew Petzing to see what defenses are going to counteract with him towards the end of 2025 and to see if he has any solutions for that. And I think that'll be one of, if not the biggest determining factor in what happens with Arizona this year.
Common trend right here, right? Offensively. Very.
Yeah.
Shaw, what do you see for this team November, December, what they need to put together for some success in those months?
Yeah, no, I think Donnie just said a lot of good points right there, especially talking about like when it comes to the offense. I think like throughout the season we need to be building kind of like, different rapport with different players so that when it does come down to it, like we have guys that we can rely on. We know like, hey, like Greg Dortch can go out there and make a play for us. We've seen him do it, what I'm saying, consistently, Trey McBride, James, whoever, right? Like we have enough guys and they feel confident enough in their guys that, okay, if we need to switch some stuff up, we got the guys to do it, right? I also think that it just boils down to like we can't kind of like y'all were saying earlier, like we can't really like start off slow. Like we got to start strong, and starting strong, in my opinion, means like we can't have any weeks where we're losing back-to-back games. Like good football teams in the NFL rarely lose back-to-back weeks, right?
Yep.
Like the elite teams, the teams that are making the deep runs in the playoffs or like winning their divisions, they don't lose back-to-back. And so if they can avoid that on the back end of the season, I mean, I think their schedule is pretty favorable in terms of like away matchups. Like we're not really going on the road to any like cold weather environments. You know what I'm saying? So like we don't have to worry about that for the most part. We're playing in domes. We're playing against teams that I feel like are beatable. Like there's no team on our schedule on the back end that I'm just like this team is just flat out. I feel like they're flat out better than us. So we got to avoid losing back-to-back games, and however that may be, from a coaching standpoint, from a player standpoint, like whatever needs to be done, I think that's like the most important thing. Like, yo, we can't go on any losing streaks because kind of like how you mentioned in terms of Kyler's decision making down the stretch. I personally feel like, Kyler's the type of quarterback where when things aren't necessarily going the way that they're supposed to be going, like he stresses the issue. And in the back half of the seasons, when like we start stacking up losses, like he's out there like, hey, look, I got to make a play for my team. I got to do this. We got to win these games. And so I feel like a part of that mindset is also like, you know, kind of what we've done before that in terms of like losing the games. You know what I'm saying? Like stacking up losses. So we got to avoid that. We got to keep a good mentality of like, hey, we're a good football team. If we lose this game, we come back out, we win the next one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with everybody's points. I think a big thing is obviously execution for offensively and just keeping the same type of level that you can keep. However that means. Obviously, like you said, Donnie mentioned that you don't have to play at top 5 MVP level every year, but you give me a consistent top 12 level for 12, 13 weeks in the season, obviously with a few bad games here and there, but 12, 13 weeks of the season, top level type of play, and then as well as this defense being better. Shaw, you mentioned just the defense being better can help, negate some of these things because really mostly between the beginning or the middle to the back half of the season, the defense had great games. They had great games. They didn't have the best games against, I would say, probably Carolina, and then the other game I can't think of right now. That the second game against Seattle where they let the backup running backs have as much success as they had. But overall, just that the defense played great the middle of the season, back half of the season, holding some great team. I mean, you hold the Jets with the numerous amount of options they had to 0 points in that game. So it's this defense is proven to have success, but can this offense keep that level of continuity, success, and just this middle level point to where they're not falling off a cliff so far, that they're just losing games like the Carolina game where you're just chucking up picks and having turnover on downs because you're just not executing properly. So this will be a huge test for this team this year. Obviously, like we said, there's not a feeling of a hot seat, but internally Cardinals fans you start to get restless after year 3, especially when you're not winning instantly, as we've been a franchise that has consistently lost. So once you get to about year 3, that good grace starts to go away, especially if losing continues. So they have a big test this year coming into it. Obviously, that back half of December schedule, we've already talked about it here, but Donnie, while you're here, we'd love to get your thoughts. I think this is probably the biggest stretch of the season. And even if we want to include this Buccaneers game, November 30th, right before December, I think all 6 of these games right here will be the breaking point for this football team, because I think everybody here, Donnie, we got to hear your thoughts as well, but I think everybody here has us at like maybe 8-1, 8-2 before that stretch of games. So that'll be an interesting point if they can tread water enough to still make playoffs at this point. So we do have the back half here. I think we have Buccaneers, Rams. Let me run to it real quick. Buccaneers, Rams, at Texans versus Falcons, at Cincinnati, and then at the Rams to finish off the season. So out of those 6 games, I want to say, what do you all believe that the Cardinals will go? I have them personally at 3-3 in those games, and I think that overall would help them secure a playoff spot, whether that be in week 17 or week 18. And I do have them beating Cincinnati in Cincinnati. I think by that time the game comes around, I think that game will have a chance to be flexed. I think you'll be seeing the Cardinals either in a Sunday night or Monday night game, and then have your chance to go out there in a very, very cold environment, very loud environment, where likely Cincinnati's going to be playing for something, whether that's catching up or holding on. And obviously, hopefully, we're doing the same thing. So I have them at 3-3. Donnie, what do you have the Cardinals going in those final 6 games?
I'm right there with you. I think 3-3, like 4-2. God, I would love to sweep the Rams this year. Like I think that would be so good for them. Texans,
we were ball off the helmet away from sweeping them last year. So
hey, really quick, like that was a good play design. It's just
execution,
execution, right?
I think if you run that play 9 more times, it's probably catch 8 more times, something like that. It's unfortunate, man. But yeah, I'm looking like the Rams are obviously division favorites for a reason, but like they're very much beatable. At the Texans, I think you should be able to win that game. Home against the Falcons, I think you should win that game. At Tampa Bay and at Cincinnati are kind of like toss-up games for me, but I think it was Rashad who said a little bit earlier, there's not a game that I looked at on the schedule where I'm like, okay, L, automatic. Like, I think that's a testament to what the Cardinals have done over the offseason, but also it's just like their schedule. And, the NFC West, I feel like is wide open for anybody. Like any 4 teams can finish in any order and be like, okay, I can see that.
Mm-hmm. You tell that to a Seahawks fan, they'll think you're crazy. Because apparently we don't stand a chance at anything. Shaw,
you know what, man? Like if they think that Sam Darnold is gonna have Kevin O'Connell walk through the doors and coach him again for another year, good for them. Good for them. Because Mike McDonald is not Kevin O'Connell. I'm telling you that right now.
Kubiak, where the Saints offense completely fell off a cliff after those first 2 weeks of the season, but Clint Kubiak is the greatest offensive coordinator in the NFC so far.
Was it that was that? It's so many Kubiaks. Was it Gary? I thought it was Gary, the one that was in
one of them. It's probably 8 of them. It's probably one of them that's up there now. So they're really banking on him to bring them back. I mean, they do got Cooper Kupp, which always been a test for us, but they have to figure out. I think they're gonna be figuring out a lot, especially on the offensive side of the ball to start the season. And luckily, we play them week 4, and I think we get them a little bit somewhere around the middle point as well. So that, or I forgot what week it is that we played them, but we played them a little bit earlier,
like that. And you get them at home, short week, Thursday night football too.
Exactly. So that's definitely going to be a benefit to hopefully beat that streak versus Seattle. But yeah, so what do you see? I don't know you mentioned, but what do you see for this back half of the schedule going right here?
I think they could go 4-2. I think they should win all of their home games, which they have 2 home games. They have 4 road games, which is a lot, right? Like in the last 6 games. But again, good football team. You're winning half of those road games. Like you're finding a way to win half those road games. I don't know which ones it's going to be. I'm not going to say that, but I'm hoping we can sweep the Rams too. Like that'd be amazing. Mm-hmm. So,
Jake, our residential homer. We know you're always a win caller for us here. What do you see for us in these final 6 games for the season?
Yeah, I'm not going to predict 6-0. I'm not going to do it. I think I like 4-2. I don't know, like cautiously optimistic. Got a chance at 5-1, but probably 4-2. Worst case 3-3. Anything lower than that, and I mean it's going to be some tough conversations. So yeah, I'll go with 4-2. I'm really not scared of Cincinnati. I think that organization is kind of a dumpster fire, having all these like contract disputes, right? They gave like all their money to 3 guys and now it's blowing up in their faces a little bit. Just look at how they were last year, man. Like such a high powered, incredible offense. And they just fell flat in their faces because the rest of the team just couldn't figure it out. They just don't, I don't know. They get a lot of respect like league wide, but I've never been like super scared of them. Given a couple of years ago, I know Jamar Chase put up like 250 yards on Marco Wilson, but luckily he's gone, so don't have to worry about that. But nah, man, I don't even know if they'll be in contention, honestly, at that point of the season. And you can clip this and throw it in my face if they go out and win 13 games next year, but I just don't see that happening. I'm not really scared of that game. Only thing that makes me a little nervous is the weather, but pending it being like a mild 40 degrees, I'm not super scared about that. The Texans, I don't know. I mean, Nico Collins is a freak. I think Stroud is a little bit overrated in my opinion. He's talented, but had a significant drop off, I think, last year from the rookie year. So he doesn't scare me a ton. I mean, what was it, the game? Did they end up beating the Chargers last year in the playoffs, or who ended up winning that game?
Yeah, their defense dominated that game. I think Justin Herbert threw like multiple picks in that game.
That's right. He threw like 5 picks, and they still were kind of like hanging around or something like that. I don't know. The Texans, I mean, a lot of respect, for D'Amico Ryans, but they don't scare me a ton either. LA, like, I don't know. This whole thing in the division about like people are talking big about Cooper Kupp, which the Rams let him go. Like, if he was still highly effective, I think he would still be there. So I think that's sort of a win for us. And then
Maybe yes, they do. I was gonna say they do have Devontae though, so you know.
that was my
Yeah.
next point. People want to talk about like big bad Devontae, but what did he do against us last year? Like, is really all I can say to that. I know he had that drop in the end zone right in front of me at the game, but yeah, he just doesn't scare me a ton either. Obviously, Nakua is a freak. Kyron, you know, when he's healthy, he's nice, but I don't know. Stafford, another year older. I just think back to week 2 last year, which was pretty special. But and then San Francisco too, I think is a bit overrated. I know they're getting a lot of love again, which I don't really know where that's coming from. They're just another year older. Just paid Purdy, which I don't know if last year really supported that, but I know like today's day and age, you got to do it. So there's that. But yeah, I guess going back to those last 6 games, like I'm pretty confident in 4-2. I can't say we'll sweep the Rams just because I feel like the last 10 to 15 years they've kind of had our number. So I'll never predict that. Would be great, but I can't predict that. Atlanta, that should be a guaranteed W. That's another guy that I tend to think is a little bit overrated, Michael Penix. He's being talked about as like an MVP guy this year. I don't know where that's coming from.
I've never heard that.
They talking about MVP on the ATL radio?
No, I've never heard that.
Dude,
that's crazy.
I'm hearing that be thrown around a little bit, and I don't know. I just think that's a little optimistic. So yeah, I feel like that's got to be a win. Like I said, Cincinnati doesn't scare me. Maybe we drop one to. We'll probably lose one to either Houston or Cincinnati. I don't think we drop both. And then, yeah, I guess given a chance to sweep the Rams, that would be great. But yeah, I'll stick with 4-2. Like I said, don't want to be overly optimistic. It's a long season. It's the NFL. It's the Arizona Cardinals. So I'll say I'm optimistic about 4-2.
Just a couple more Sundays until a football team determines my move for the week. That'll be very, very great. So appreciate that. This was a great 90 minutes with you, Donnie. We appreciate you coming through, answering some of our questions that we had going into the season. This should be a fun season. Obviously, covering this team, a lot of personalities on this football team, but a lot of continuity and togetherness as well as what I can notice from afar. So guys definitely do love each other, and they play hard for their head coach, which is all you can ask for. You know, you guys go out there, you cover the team every day. You're showing up to the facility, showing up to the games on Sunday, and us as fans as well, like overall fans, like we just want to see our team go out there and play hard enough to make our money feel well worth it. So and our passion as well. So we appreciate you. Do you guys have anything else before we head out today?
Yeah, I was gonna say you talk about like play hard for our head coach. I mean, we didn't really kind of get into this. I don't know how much you can get into this, Donnie, but like I just want to commend JG and Monty. Props to them for the situation that they came into and mending whatever type of relationship that was maybe broken or kind of about to be broke between Kyler and the management. Because you know we saw kind of this like NFL collusion document come out, and Kyler's name was mentioned in it. Michael Bidwell's name was mentioned in it. So shout out to them for kind of mending that relationship and getting Kyler back to a point where it's like, I know if it was me and I was in that situation and like, I kind of know like the back end, like how that, and I'd be annoyed if it was Kyler. So like, you know, we're in a better place now with these guys and in the front office and the coaching staff.
Yeah, really quick before we head out. First of all, thank you guys so much for having me on. I had absolute blast. I'd love to join and hop in with you guys again whenever possible. I was there for the last year, Cliff Kingsbury, and this feels different. And that's not just, you know, me saying this on July 2nd because there's nothing else better to talk about. Like having been in that media room for what'll be the 4th year full time now, like it feels different. Like, whatever guys talk about wanting to make the playoffs and like the building being different and things changing, like they're for real. They're not just saying that. It's not coach speak. It's not talking in front of a camera. Like the energy legitimately is different under Jonathan Gannon as compared to Cliff Kingsbury, and that it is much different under Monty Austinfort as compared to Steve Keim. So, you know, obviously results, the NFL is a result oriented business. But if it's just putting this team under a microscope and seeing where they've come from the moment they fired Cliff Kingsbury to where they are now, night and day difference. And I think everybody involved deserves massive props, because it's so hard to go back and to look at the mess they had to clean up from a roster and like an organizational standpoint to get their way they are now. Phenomenal work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this night and day difference. Obviously, you get a firsthand experience of it being right there. Me as a fan, being thousands of miles away, I love what I'm seeing overall online. But just aesthetic. Hopefully, this city or that city. Obviously, the Suns had a departure of Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker's still there. They got a couple new pieces in. There's some excitement there, but this has a chance. Obviously, with the hockey team leaving. Diamondbacks aren't doing as great as they could have been, I think, as they want to be, I should say. So there's a big chance this fall for this team to take the mantle back for that city and make it a football town, a true football town, a place where your home fans want to go to cheer for your team, not where fans of other teams want to come from. So this will be a huge year. Obviously, Jake, I know you'll be in the stands. Donnie, you'll be in the booth. Me and Shaw will be out there hopefully at one point, but this has been like you said, Donnie, appreciate your time. This has been a great episode.
Amen.
Jake, if you have anything else, go
ahead. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
All right. I just got a little Wi-Fi notification. Yeah, no, honestly, totally agree with everything you guys are saying. I feel like I'm not in the media room like you, Donnie, but I feel the same thing. Like with the energy, it definitely does feel different.
You're in the stands. That's huge. That's where the energy is procrastinated on the game. So that's massive for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and obviously too, it seems like JG and Monty are slowly winning back the home field advantage, which is great. I will give a personal account though. I think it still could be improved a bit more. I moved here last year in like the second week of October, and I went to 6 games, I believe. So pretty much every game I could go to. And during the Seattle game, I was definitely talking a lot of shit. Just getting amped up for the game and just trying to, just be a little bit of a rabble rouser for, against Seahawks fans. There was actually a Cardinals fan sitting next to a Seahawks fan that he and I were sort of going back and forth with a bit. And the Cardinals fan ended up kind of taking the Seahawks fan's side a little bit. And it was just sad to see, man. I mean, you guys know me. I wasn't saying anything egregious or anything like that. But this guy was just super soft, and I can't stand those types of fans. You guys know me being from Boston. I definitely, like to chirp and stuff. I feel like it's the NFL. You're going to an opposing stadium, you should expect to get some heat, especially in a division, a rivalry game. That was the second game, so it was obviously huge. And yeah, so just would like to see that a little bit more. But yeah, man, I'm gonna try to go out to a few of the open practices this year. Kind of keep an eye on the team. So Shaw and Corey, I'll definitely send you guys some footage and keep you posted on what I'm kind of out there. But yeah, super excited for the season, and I think it could be a good one.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited for this season. We'll be back obviously on Cardinalytics here probably once training camp gets rolling around here. We'll talk about it some more once that comes to it. But definitely appreciate anybody that came in and listened. Donnie, we appreciate you stopping through. Obviously, love to have you when it comes to the end of the season, and your insight from the building itself is going to be massive for our podcast alone. So we appreciate you coming through, and we will catch anybody on the next one coming forward.